Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tonight's on the Sofa. No, it's not a Monday, it is a Tuesday, so in case anybody's worried. Really pleased to say we've got Colin Calderwood on tonight. We thank him enormously for taking the time out of his busy schedule to join us. So without further ado, let's bring Vic on. Hello.
Hiya, Chris. How are you? Are you all right? It's a long time since I've seen you, about 24 hours.
I know. I'll tell you.
SAS Travel, they are open tonight for phone bookings, of course. That's for Mansfield and for Walsall. That's right. But of course, they're not open on Thursday, don't forget, because of the FA Youth Cup quarter-final at Ashton Gate against Bristol City. That kicks off at 7. There is a bus running for that, and that bus goes at 4:30 from the county ground. And on Saturday, the bus leaves the county ground at 9:30 for Mansfield. So there you are. That's the SAS Travel news.
Brilliant. And just another plug for the end of season presentation evening. It's on the 11th of April, and we still have a few spaces left if anybody would like to join us for that. Right, let's make the most of it. So let's bring Colin on. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Hiya, Vic.
How are you? You all right?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well.
Jolly good indeed. Right,
I'm going to leave you. So if there's any questions for Colin, please leave them in the comments. And as I always say, we'll get through as many as we can. Okay, see you later.
See you later, Chris. Thank you very much. First, before we go on, Colin, this is from Dave the Chair. Now, he says, can you please wish Colin all the best and thank him for signing the photo that very kindly printed out for me by Andy, our chairman of the Supporters Club. My 18th birthday party in Newbury with Colin, myself, my mum and dad. That was 33 years ago this Thursday, believe it or not. And he's still got the GWR shirt that Colin gave me, and it still fits. Many thanks, Colin. You're still the best £27,500. Oh, he's gone. He's back in. There you are. You're still the best £27,500 the town has ever spent. Kindest regards, Dave Foster, a.k.a. Dave the Chair. So there you are. That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, good. Glad I've left someone with a happy memory.
You've left many people with a happy memory, Colin, I have to say. Right, born in Stranraer in 1965.
Yeah, Vic, born Glasgow, actually, but grew up in Stranraer.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Well, we'll give Stranraer a bit of credit then.
Yeah.
But you started off, I think it's Inverness, is that right?
No, there's some of these sort of threads wouldn't have been Wikipedia then, but that's no. We grew up in Stranraer. Family born in Glasgow, as I said, and then the majority of my father's family lived in Stranraer or came from that area, and when he came back from being in the deep sea in the Merchant Navy, he tried his hand at sort of working in the car factory in Glasgow and didn't like factory land work at all. So he went back down to Stranraer to the ferries, and we moved down there when I was 2 in about 1967. So all my life is really I class myself as a Stranraer person, and they say. This is the tune. Stranraer is the tune, not Newcastle. This is the original tune.
In football, though, where did you kick off?
So, as in professional football, apart before that?
Yeah, as a youngster. Yeah.
As a youngster. So, school football and local football, but where Stranraer's located, I mean, we would be the weakest of any of the counties, and the only way to get noticed football.
And he's gone and he's back again. Just lost you for a moment. You're back. Yeah.
So we had a decent run, or if you get drawn away in the Scottish Cup, School Cup, then that was a chance of getting maybe somebody saw you. So we were fairly remote, fairly rural, and the local team, I played in a team called Lochrain, who was run by a great set of gentlemen who were really some parents, and a man called Tommy McBride, who was, without him and my mother and father carting me all around the country, I would never have made it as a professional footballer. So Lochrain was the boys' club, school team, and then Ayr United. I get picked up by Ayr United boys' club, and that league was then playing in sort of against Celtic and Drumchapel and Glasgow Amateurs. So it was a Saturday league, and that's where the majority of scouts for Scottish teams and a lot of English teams would have seen players.
Right. So, I just messages coming in already, by the way. Steve says, good evening. Malcolm says, good evening, one and all. Hi, Colin. You are a true gentleman. You were the first captain of Swindon in my memory from 1992. Thank you for your amazing service to Swindon. I wish you all the very best. There are more of those coming in.
Thank you. Just around that,
yeah.
getting the captain, I got the captaincy very young, and it wasn't due to any leadership skills or anything like that. Lou had the great idea. I'd been booked so often early in the season that I was right on the brink of suspension. So he felt that if I was introduced to the referee as the captain, that might help the referee be more lenient with me. And funnily, then, as daft as it sounds, so going from the edge of suspension after 8-9 games, I didn't get booked again that season. And that was, I think that was the real reason. Well, that was the real reason I was made captain to begin with. Plus the fact Andy Rowland was just moving out the team and not playing as regular as he always had. Sorry, the dog's just come in.
That's all right. What's the dog's name?
Betty.
Oh, hello, Becky. Nice to see you. So how did Mansfield come into it then?
So playing with Ayr United Boys Club, we'd there was scouts, and we had a chance. We were actually going to Ipswich Town. Bobby Robson, who were vying with Liverpool at the top of the league. And the week before, four of us were going down there. We got a phone call to say that there was no space at Ipswich. But don't worry, my mate is a scout for Mansfield and you'll go there. So it was quite a difference going from top two in Division 1 to a Division 4 club. But that's how we ended up at Mansfield in round about October of probably 84. And no, it would have been 1979, sorry. And went there, got asked to go back and play a game, got asked to go back in Easter holidays and was offered a contract at that time. And then they put it into the draw. And when I did make my debut for Mansfield, they actually get deducted 2 points because they hadn't registered me properly.
Yeah, tell us about that, because I did read that and I thought, is that right, that you cost them 2 points? So how did that work then?
Well, the rule at the time to keep talented Scottish schoolboys in Scotland rather than the droves that were leaving and signing down south, the rule was that if you signed schoolboy forms for a Scottish team, then you weren't allowed to go to England for trial. And also the other rule was that you weren't allowed to sign for an English club until you'd actually left school, which was either 16 or 18. And I signed the contract and they said, we'll put it in the draw and you'll come back to us pre-season. And I didn't. At that time, I had no other offers to sign full-time or become an apprentice footballer, as it was. So we signed it, it got put in the draw, and I went back in early June of 1980, I presume, probably around about that time, and started as a 16-year-old at Mansfield, one of 4 apprentices who did all the jobs that everyone else does nowadays. And that was my ground, and made my debut that season in March time at Crewe. And then after the game, they found out I hadn't been registered properly. So we won the game, but we then got deducted 2 points.
Dear oh dear. Well done, C. Calderwood.
Yeah.
Did you get hauled in front of the headmaster, or was it?
No, but I think the secretary at the time, he was. I put him under a lot more pressure than myself. So what it did do was it null and voided the contract that I had.
Oh.
And so we had to. We negotiated a new contract, which wasn't. I still get the same money. I just said yes, nodded your head and said yes, and signed whatever was offered.
No agents in those days, I guess.
No, and funnily enough, I never used an agent as a player ever, really. Not until right at the end, probably when I left Swindon to go to Tottenham, and a couple of agents had contacted us as they were coming in just before that, but didn't feel comfortable with them. And in the end, I just used the PFA representation that was around at that time. And subsequent to that, in the manager and coaching career, Colin Gordon, the famous Colin Gordon, was my agent or my representative, and he's done very well on that side of it and other things.
Yeah, he's turned out to be a decent agent, hasn't he?
Yes.
Let's have a look. Lots of comments coming in. This is from Paul. Evening, guys. Shout out to Colin. Brilliant memories of the 80s. Fantastic times travelling up from Wantage, Swindon till I die. Thanks for the memories you gave me as a Swindon fan over the years. One of the most consistent defenders I've ever seen. Stephen says, 50 years of watching Swindon. There'll only be one king. King Colin. And Tracy, hi Vic and Colin. Too many memories of Colin, not only at Swindon, but also from many trips to Northampton to see Colin and David Kerslake. Hopefully, I'm no longer banned from coming to see you. You'll know Tracy Chatfield, I'm sure.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Andy says, in my best ever Swindon Town 11, not only that, captain as well. And any chance of an autobiography, Colin? Would love to read that, he says.
Yeah, I mean, I did get asked once, and I sort of sketched out something to, which obviously the co-writer at the time, but he said he didn't get any traction on it really. But I'd certainly feel a lot more comfortable about doing one of those books now, because I think the time's passed long enough to really drill down on my movement from Mansfield to Swindon and what happened at Swindon that then cost us the demotion after promotion and that type of thing. And I think the story's been, it would be always my version of the story, of course. Everyone may know it, but there'll be little intricacies that'll be no one will ever heard. Whether that they're interesting, I don't know. But there was a lot went on at that time, and very memorable, that especially the early days at Swindon, which were really the foundation of me having some sort of career.
Yeah, those of us who were reporting on those times remember them very well. We'll get to those in a little while, if that's all right. But so 100 league games of Mansfield Town, and then Lou Macari comes knocking. How did that come about?
Well, I'd my contract was end of contract at Mansfield, and an experienced pro, Steve Whitworth, who used to play for Leicester in England, fullback. So it was a very experienced team at Mansfield at that time, and I would one of two or three youngsters who were playing, and he gave me the advice that when I went in to speak to the manager, or the manager called me in, whatever he said, just say no. He says, because you'll get more. And obviously I was 20, just turned 20, played 100 games in league football, so some established in some sort of way. So when I went in, I said no, and the manager then said, well, what do you want? And that put me in the back foot, because he hadn't told me what my next line was. So what the manager did, he offered me a signing on fee, and if I wanted £500 a week, he would have taken £10 a week off my weekly wage. So as I said, can I think about it, went home or back to the digs and thought about it. I soon found out I was no better off than the original offer. And at that time, I don't think he even rejected it or anything like that. You were basically held under contract to a certain degree, and I'm sure they thought, we'll come back or we'll renegotiate. So I'd gone home to Stranraer. I was having some time off. I was actually at the golf course, and I got a phone call at the golf course that I had to go home. Lou Macari was wanted to talk to me, and obviously Lou had joined Swindon the previous season. And I remember the game at Swindon. It felt like a big game. There was a big crowd, and we'd gone down at some point in a very competitive game, and I had a clash of heads with Colin Gordon and played in the game. And what Lou had done, as he did with many players, was ask the team who they didn't like playing against, or who may have been a good player against them. And Colin Gordon had mentioned myself. So whether that and Lou's little nose for players and bargains, that was how the contact first started. And eventually, a couple of days, I had to go and meet him, and I met him and Kevin Morris. Strangely enough, we met at Northampton Services on the M1.
Yeah, Northampton, of course, to play a big part in your life later on, didn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
what did you know? Obviously, you played at Swindon, but what did you know about them as a club? Did you know much about them?
Not so much. Only that he's a high-profile player. Lou Macari had gone to Swindon, and there was a lot of noise, and there was the Harry Gregg incident that had brought Swindon at the forefront. But I think you'll know better than me. But there was some sort of quite outstanding results at that second half of the season, and they looked as if, they were getting publicity, and that didn't happen too often to Division 4 clubs at that time. Lou was obviously a huge part of that. The storyline between him and Harry was obviously another bit of it. But also, there was some results that had sort of stuck in my mind from that game. Lou Macari played for Celtic, Scottish international, iconic figure to lots and lots, myself and lots of other Scottish youngsters. And Lou was really the big pull, I must admit.
So it didn't get off to a great start, did it? If I remember rightly, I always remember you played Torquay on a Friday night, and whoever lost that game went bottom of the league. So it wasn't a great start to the season, was it?
No, and I use this quite a lot when people talk to you through pre-season about aims and targets and how important it is to start the season. It's these memories of those starts, and if you look at other leagues, that the people who end up getting promoted, the number of times they don't win the first game of the season is huge. The number of times that they're actually still in the bottom half are a lot larger than people think. So the importance of the first and second games, in essence, is almost nil in my head, because it gives you a feel-good factor of all the work through pre-season, and you come out of the first game with points and feeling good about yourself, and everything was worthwhile. But in essence, it's what happens from the first 10 are really the start of the season, is when I sort of plan, have a strategy about it. So, and it's that Swindon example is really my history of it and my experience of it, because the improvement in results and the importance of getting through all those sort of difficult moments at the early part of the season, thrashing out some rubbish between us and getting rid of people and that type of thing. I think that all helped, because we were in a very poor place as we went into that early game, and then to go over 100 points from a start like that just shows you that the beginning of the season kind of bears no relevance to how you can end up.
If I remember rightly, it kind of all turned round after an army camp trip up north, and you were playing Hartlepool on the Saturday, played very well in that game. And then it was Sunderland in the Milk Cup. You lost at Hartlepool, but that seemed to me to be the turning point, because from that stage on, things really started to motor.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think that early League Cup results were quite good. Well, obviously, because we got through and we ended up with Sunderland, and that definitely helped us. And as we had at the get together, Paul Roberts said he came in and revitalised the club, and it was him that made all the difference. And he's probably not too far wrong in terms of personality and the sort of bringing players together, because around about that time he joined, we had the games against Sunderland, and obviously the league form slowly improved a little bit. But the cup was an important part of us improving. And how do you get confidence? By beating somebody from another division? I don't know, but you do. But in essence, the real confidence gained is by winning league points against your basically your peers. You've got to beat the people in your division, and everything else is extra. But around that time, it certainly helped us get started in the season.
Well, Sheffield Wednesday, a magical night at the County Ground. You remember that? Peter Coyne's goal. I mean, it really was the start of a buzz. I always remember trying to get an evening advertiser the next day, and the bloke in the newsagent said, they're all sold out. They always do when Swindon do well. And it was suddenly that kind of feeling, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and it's what what I remember and what I felt at the time was obviously the early games didn't bring a great atmosphere because we weren't doing anything. But those night games and the Shrivenham Road and the way it was configured and the town end, that really built those sort of misty, cold, early autumn nights around that time, and obviously getting good results against Sheffield Wednesday and beginning to make an imprint on the season a little bit. And that was the first time I'd really experienced that. Just the way the stand was, the noise in the stadium definitely stayed in. And
sorry, go on.
That was a big. That attributed a lot to our success.
I mean, I have to. Well, listen, hang on a minute. More comments coming in. This is from Shazza. His car was always breaking down, and my dad would always end up fixing it. He was the AA patrol man. He would always come home and tell me. I told that story when I gave his eulogy in August, which is lovely, isn't it?
Yes.
He mended your car. Claire says, Colin, you were my favourite player and you inspired me to become a centre half for Swindon Town Women FC, wearing number 5. So you are inspiration. How about that? That's lovely.
Nice.
Always an enjoyment, Colin, chatting to you before games. This is from Lee Cole. Always ready to stop and chat. And your goal against Port Vale, which we will get to a little later. Yeah. I did watch again this afternoon. It was extraordinary. John says, Colin, one of the best defenders to wear a Swindon shirt. So we'll keep dropping those in as we go.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're amongst friends, I think it's fair to say. It's okay. Yeah. It's extraordinary, really. We must talk about the fitness of this because everybody talks about the running and how fit they were compared to where they were before. But what did it do for you as a player?
Well, what it did was it definitely cut out the amount of food you ate because it was really uncomfortable if you had like an almost normal food. Nowadays, the way we used to eat and then go training probably wouldn't be allowed. Would be it'd be classed as bullying probably. But we ended up stripping a lot leaner than we came in. So everyone turned in, and there was a good athletic ability in the team. Now, whether that was endurance or one or two players with some very good speed, but what it did, it saw you through games when you were really finding it difficult to recover. It's really the recovery from bouts of action. That's what it gave us, and it gave us that. It's not more energy, but it gave you the ability to recover and go again. And in the end, we definitely outworked teams because we just had lasted longer. We had more battery power, and the way Lou went about it probably was extreme, slightly bizarre, and we've had some tremendous laughs about what we used to do. But even now, when you do your fitness sessions with the team, the players don't get anywhere near, or they wouldn't last in the way that lots of the training sessions we used to have. But I guarantee you, there's no Premiership team running round 6 miles round Swindon on the road on a Thursday.
Amazing. Yeah, incredible stuff. But it must have done you some good because I remember games like Rochdale away when you were trailing, I think, till about 75 minutes and then 2 goals in the last 15 minutes. And that's the sort of thing it enabled you to do, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we became powerful, didn't we? And I think to the detriment of the skill level of some of the players in the team, we weren't a nice team to play against because we were non-stop and we didn't give up too often, and the fitness was a telling factor. Not just in that first season, but I think all through Lou's time, it was very important as we were lesser players in the next division and then into what is the Championship now. I've got absolutely no doubt that our fitness levels and the way that we trained helped us survive in the next level up.
When was the moment you thought this is the cracking season? This is working, and you know, when did you? I mean, there was that incredible run, wasn't there? You lost at Tranmere just after, I think it was New Year, on a snowy old pitch. Lou wasn't very happy that the game went ahead. But after that, it was like wall-to-wall wins, wasn't it? When was the moment when you thought this is a season?
Yeah, I think the cup ties were the beginning of it, definitely. So Sunderland and Sheffield Wednesday. And then when you started taking interest in how many points you need to get promoted, that's you beginning to think about it as a group. We were having great fun. We were we were in digs to begin with in the corner of Shrivenham Road. We were then put into digs because we were misbehaved too much to be allowed to live on our own. So we get put in digs with Fred and Alma Coburn, who looked after us terrifically well. And there was 3 of us in there, and we used to have. Listen, we weren't super professionals at that time. We would be on a Tuesday night, we'd go out, and Wednesday we'd play golf, and we'd probably have a drink on a Wednesday, and then we'd train hard. But we trained everything out of us, and we were ready and fit to go on the Saturday. I would say the cup ties was the beginning of it, and then getting into a position in the league. And funnily enough, the beginning of, if you kept a clean sheet or if you won another game away from home, those unbeaten records, be a new record for Swindon Town, new record for the league. That was I think they helped, those little stepping stones to the ultimate success, which was obviously winning the league.
Yeah, 6 away wins on the trot, 6 wins on the trot away from home. That's a bonkers record, really, isn't it? I mean, you know, places like Stockport on a Monday night, things like that. I mean, it was just fantastic. And were you aware how good you were at the time, or was it just a case of each game as it comes, the old cliche? How were you feeling?
No, I don't think we were. I think we were looked upon as we were getting there because we were fit. Our style of play wasn't what everyone wanted the opposition to play. I think we were the unwanted people at the top of the league. No one liked really playing against us. Or we were direct, no doubt about it. We were direct, and we used all the laws of the game in terms of the offside, but we were competitive, and no doubt about it. The harmony within that group, I think, was probably the fact of it. Helped us overcome all the opposition, the Chester and the Mansfields, and all those teams that were in direct opposition to get promotion and go up.
Yeah, that sort of chemistry shone through on the night that we had at the Legends Lounge recently, and obviously you all really got on well, which is fantastic to see. More messages coming in. This is from Sean says, my favourite season, that 4th Division title. I've had that image of you holding aloft the trophy in North Stand tattooed. So there you go. Rob the Red, never ever forget the reception he got away to Spurs in the Premier League. Reckon if anyone had booed him, they would have got lynched. The Fridge was probably my favourite Town player ever. Used to see him around the town a lot. Always spoke. Steve Barrett, the Newcastle FA Cup game. We might mention that a little later. Yep. Couldn't believe Colin was mortal. Pete Lango, who you'll know,
yes.
youth player. Hi, the Fridge, top bloke, the best trainer, him and Cammy. How different was it playing with less substitutions, asked Nick, which is a very interesting question because now there are 5. I think there were 1 in those days, weren't there? Is that all?
Yeah, I think that probably certainly that season, I would imagine there was only 1 person sat on the bench. I'm sure people stayed on the pitch because they had to in those days. But I think what Pete said is quite a compliment in my head, is that the way Lou asked us to train, and because he'd played at such a level, I was a lapdog, so I followed, but it drove standards into training, and as we went up, I don't think we ever came away from that application of training. And whether the training was enjoyable with any manager that we had, it was always in a different style with the managers that we had at Swindon. But that application, if you're asked to do something, you do it, and you do it to try and win or get there as quick as possible, or catch Lou's dog as quick as possible so he could go in.
Well, that season, of course, There's another one here. Hannah Deschange, who's done a very great wall. She's an artist and she's painted this wall. If anyone can find me a decent bit of wall, I'll add Colin to the Swindon Legends project. So there you are.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
So if you can offer Hannah a nice piece of wall, Colin's face will be on it. How about that? That's all right, Nick?
Wow, very nice. Can I have the one with when I had curly hair?
Yeah, yeah, that would be good. Well, with the trophy, that's the obvious one, isn't it? Now then, that season finishes with 102 points, which is extraordinary. There was that magical night against Chester, but at the beginning of this, you might have noticed that picture of you all at Mansfield, which was a great day. You were in the front there, and still, Lee Barnard still talks about it to this day, doesn't he? With they all had to come back out after the shower. Most of you, he's gone again. Has he?
Oh, sorry,
I've lost you. I can hear you but can't see you. So you've got to take.
Let me try and get you back.
So can you?
I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So you sort of all went in to get a shower, and then Lou told you to come back out again.
That's right. Yeah, because I'd been at Mansfield, I was going in to see landlord and landlady really and catch up with a couple of friends that I had there. So I get changed quick, and then we were all back outside because I'd never got promoted before. Didn't really know the etiquette, and ended up in the wrong position.
Very good. Right, so that season wraps up 102 points, the win at home against Crewe on the final day. You'll go away, have a summer, and then come back for another successful the season after, which is an extraordinary season, which ended in those playoffs at Gillingham, of course, you'll remember. What another 9-10 months.
I was, and the step up I think we found difficult, and we had some interesting results at the beginning of that season. But the sort of doggedness of the fitness of the team and the additions that Lou made definitely helped us improve. And probably we weren't super at the beginning of that season. It's all about what improvements you make from whatever result you've had.
Well, one player.
If I click on this link again, Vic, will I?
Yeah. Do you want to log out and log back in again, Colin?
Okay,
and then we'll.
Let me try that.
Yeah. Okay. I'll read a couple more messages. Oh, he's back. Oh no, he's gone again. Try us again, Colin, and we'll get back to you. So obviously that following season, 86-87, the playoffs against Gillingham, losing 1-0 away in the first game. Then that extraordinary game at the county ground, Charlie Henry's Rocket, and Colin Calderwood returns to us, which is lovely.
There we go.
So so that season you step up to the third division or League One or whatever it is. I lose count of what they call it these days. But one important addition, of course, was Chalky White, because there was a natural goal scorer, wasn't it?
Yeah, and aggressive. He scored goals, but he was aggressive, and he played at that level. And I think he was someone we clung to in more difficult moments of the game. I mean, he really made it difficult for the opposition in lots of ways. And as we went through, I think Lou's special type of manager, but I think one of his biggest attributes is his ability to improve players when they come in, but also bring his additions to the group that were normally excellent. And as we went through, that if there was anything that helped us, it would have been that knowledge, that expertise, and that improvement in the playing squad as we moved up.
Sure. Those players were extraordinary, weren't they? Everybody remembers Charlie Henry's Rocket, which got you back into it. But that night at Selhurst Park, the Celery Song, 10,000 town fans, all that. What a time to be a town player, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, it was, and but we were really dead and buried in the game, and then Charlie gets us back into it. And almost can still hear the roar in my mind at the minute. It was, and then did that help us? Because I think we were very dominant in the third game and never looked like losing it. But I think we broke the spirit of Gillingham.
Sure, and what a night it was. So then up to the second division, which is an extraordinary leap, isn't it? I mean, to go up once is great, but to go up 2 years in a row, that's a massive jump. And Swindon weren't actually outclassed in Division 2, were they?
No, I mean it's probably I can remember. It's probably the least of my memories. Is obviously the subsequent years were definitely more memorable, but that was really about putting your head down, competing, and managing to get a foothold in the division. And again, you've got to prove you're worthy of that level. So I think that would be one of the toughest seasons, you know. But I think we as we sort of went through it, we always did enough. I think again, being a team that nobody really liked to play against in the style that we played in, that definitely helped us.
Sure. Neil says, Colin, a legend at town. Thanks for the memories. We could do with his help to sort out our defending and fitness. I still argue with opposition fans to this day. It was our fans that started the army chant after Lou Macari training regime. Yeah. I mean, everybody talks about those, but I think you had some fun as well, didn't you, on the camps? I don't think they're...
Yeah, no, it was just probably when we went to the army camp, some of the training wasn't. It was really just to keep us in bed under the watchful eye of Lou and the rest of the staff, Chick Bates and Kevin Morris, and prepare a bit for either a cup tie or towards the end of the season. I remember going, and it was the sort of roundabout when the Masters is on. So they were becoming consequential games if you were going to try and get promoted. And in those moments, he took us away. So it was, but when we were there, we'd somehow rig up a portable TV. There would be sport on in whichever way it was back in those days. And Lou entertained us by giving us betting odds for the horse race or the snooker, or if there was a football game on, a football score. And, you know, it was, there's definitely less moaning then, and we packed a bag, headed off, because that seemed to be the right thing to do. And obviously the other thing was, because we'd done it before, it had brought us success, so why would you not do it?
Sure, absolutely right. And eventually you have another playoff, of course. Unfortunately, you lose, ironically, at Crystal Palace. But then Lou does depart, goes off to West Ham. And how much of a shock was Ozzy Ardiles becoming manager? Because I think anybody else, we were all going, what? This is extraordinary. So what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was this similar type feeling like when Lou was on the phone and I had to go and ring him. It was what Lou Macari, and then what Ozzy Ardiles, and it was that name, that presence is probably as difficult as you can see it is for teams to replace iconic managers. It definitely needed someone of that presence and authority and level of player in the game. So it was one of them. This will be very interesting, and we're very quizzical coming into pre-season training to see how this would go.
Yeah, I mean, Lou famously teetotal, of course, but I always remember with Ozzy, you had a bottle of whiskey on the table before you went out, didn't you?
He used to have a little nip when it was cold, and as he used to tell us, it's always cold in Britain.
How different was it then with the training? I mean, the running was Lou's thing, but how about Ozzy? Was it more ball work?
Well, I think, yeah, we definitely used the ball a lot more. But there's a psychological side that we were fit, we were combative in a certain way. Did we believe that we would be able to play in the way Ozzy wanted? Probably not to begin with, I must admit. But what he drummed into is that we were good players, we were capable of it. It was easy to pass the ball to the next person. And him being able to join in the early games of the season and in pre-season definitely helped us. And somehow there was a change, a little bit more light-hearted. Lots of what we did in training wasn't there. But again, that level of fitness that was there previously, but also the application to the training and the knowledge that when you did run, you had to run, you did it you did it hard or you did it fast. I think it was a good foundation that Ozzy found himself with the team. He certainly gave us more self-belief. He believed in us in a different way. He portrayed himself to us in a different way from what Lou did. And, you know, it was almost oil and water in terms of the coaches. But how the balance just ended up being right. We ended up finding ourselves capable of doing things that we didn't believe we could.
It led to that final at Wembley, of course, against Sunderland. As we know, the most one-sided 1-0 victory ever in the history of football, I suspect. And then 10 days later, of course, as we all know, the ruling from the Football League came in. What were your thoughts at that time?
Probably as they are now, it's not right. That's a bit that it's unfair. Somehow it'll get overturned. We were led to believe that it wouldn't go through, and then maybe we were looking through rose-tinted spectacles, really, because when you talk to other people who've been at the other clubs, a Blackburn or a Newcastle or a Sunderland, they all felt that Newcastle and Sunderland hoped that we would beat Blackburn, because they felt that whoever won that game was going to, if it was Swindon in the final, they'd been told they weren't going up. And when you get that narrative later on, then it should have been handled in a different way by the league. And you can see the problems that the league are having now by deducting points and then reinstating points, and clubs in the Premiership. So the legalities of the sanctions that a league are allowed to impose, should impose, and do impose, it's still unfair, because we know, everyone, the majority in the country know there was other clubs doing similar things, and the way the sort of storyline came out wasn't helped by the fact that there was a little bit of a takeover bid at the time, is probably one way to describe it.
Yeah, of course, you got arrested, didn't you?
Yeah.
And released without charge. I mean, I remember being outside your house on the day you came out of jail.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that like? You know, how did you feel when that happened?
Yeah, and probably the lads that you've had on would have. The Inland Revenue were trying to get statements from us to put a case against the club, and the PFA were telling us that we didn't have to just say no comment, don't engage with them. So what they'd done was go to players that had left the club, maybe hadn't had that information, it wasn't to the forefront of their mind, and people who'd left started giving statements, and that gave them a bit of evidence that then led to myself getting arrested, along with Lou and Brian and Vic, not Vic, was it the accountant? Anyway, it was a shock. It was a shock, because we were down in Cornwall. We'd gone to open some lights down in Cornwall with Ozzy, and Ozzy knocked the door at 5 a.m. and said the police were here. And so we left there and headed back up to Bristol, get checked in, if that's the right word, to a police station, and then back up to the house in Swindon. And they came and searched sort of drawers and cupboards, and they found bits of paper that wrote down that what people were due out of cup bonuses, attendance bonuses, and money that we'd sort of gained. Now, with it coming outside the contract, that was breaking the Football League rules, but also it was just extra money. So in essence, they were doing it for not paying tax on that, and that gave them enough of well, it definitely helped their case. But the PFA were very good. I had a lawyer down there by sort of early evening, mid-evening, and we all got immunity if we then gave statements, which was really where we got to. We gave statements, and in essence, the club were culpable for tax due, and in the FA's or the Football League's eyes, the punishment of going down was what they deemed the right way to adjudicate the situation. But the amount that we get paid, I believe I know that one player at another club get paid more money for one offence. So and it's a fairly high-profile club that did it. And so when you know that storyline and other people tell you they get paid similar cup bonuses or something like that, then it gnaws at you a little bit.
Was Swindon made an example of then?
Yeah, definitely. But made an example of, but there was too many other occasions that this had happened to players, clubs, that they should have been looked into as well. And it probably tidied it up. It dotted I's and crossed T's in terms of contract, but everything around that area in business has definitely ratcheted up from the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. We were definitely made an example of. We were small enough to get trodden down.
Then, more comments coming in. Do you remember that night at Ipswich? I know the game didn't go to plan, but that has to be one of the most 90 minutes of vocal support I've come across at an away game for us. Was certainly loud by the end of the night. 6-1, if I remember rightly, in the Milk Cup. Do you remember that one?
Yes, vaguely. Yeah, vaguely.
Yes. Yes.
I should know that to the forefront of my mind. But
actually, what? Go on.
That's quite nice when you as you establish yourself as a smaller club. I've talked about Ipswich being the club I was maybe going to trial as a youngster, and they were sitting top of the league, and Swindon were the 4th division, and then both come together, and we were not arguably we were the better footballing team.
Yeah. Now you have to sort of somehow pick yourself up the following season after that demotion. It was originally, of course, 2 divisions, and then put back in on appeal into the 2nd division. How difficult was that?
Yeah, I think it's very easy to say use that as an agenda to get back there, but we had to sell a couple of players. The balance of the team and the squad changed a little bit, and that was hard because I think we started with a win.
Charlton, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Charlton. We played at Fulham and beat Charlton, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, 3-1, I think, if I remember rightly. Yeah.
And said, all right, well, we'll show them. But in essence, some sort of mental energy is drained out of the club, not just the players on the pitch a little bit. And when if you can keep going and you're sitting at the right end of the table, that inspiration will stay there. But as soon as there's a little bit of a lull, which everyone can see happens in football, then I don't think mentally we were in the best place to really contest the league. And we actually did, I think it was an achievement really to stay in the division the way the season went a wee bit.
So Ozzy Ardiles eventually departs, and then
I took quite a serious injury that year as well.
You did, in a game against Wolves. I was going to mention that because I often say to people, that's the side of football we never talk about when players. And I always remember you going off on a bike ride when all the rest of the players were going training, and I was thinking, boy, oh boy, this must be the loneliest place on the planet for a footballer.
Yeah, because it was. Paul Gascoigne did the same injury at the end of that season in the cup final, but really, coming out and having the injury that I had, the cruciate ligament injury, that was a career-ending injury at that time, and there wasn't too many people. The operation wasn't really to the forefront of everyone's mind that you would get back. So I remember getting told that and basically shedding tears in the hospital, thinking. So in my mid-20s, I'm not going to be able to play football. I'm not able to earn money and look after the family, that type of thing. And I remember, it was quite a serious chat that the surgeon or the doctor gave us as I sort of woke up in the hospital in Swindon. But Swindon looked after. We went to see a specialist in Cambridge, Dr. Dandy, who'd looked after some rugby players, and he said. He gave us the advice and the protocol to follow, and we'll get to the end of the season. So I didn't have an operation actually, and did loads and loads of work, whether that be on bikes but really stabilising the hamstrings and produce strength for your quads, and then get to January and see if you can play again. And although I did start playing January, February, I was hopeless really, and I was probably I didn't have full flexion in my knee at that time, and through that time, Ozzy left and Glenn joined. And he gave me some great advice in terms of rehabilitation and really the end of the season was the time that to do more work to get the legs stronger, try and get rid of a bit more of the adhesions that had built up. But that sort of 3 months we were fighting a little bit against relegation and get out of the trouble.
Sure. Actually, we haven't mentioned Newcastle away in the FA Cup, really, have we? What's your side of that story?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't. The only difference in that was we didn't know anything about the bet, but I could definitely say Lou's mind was worked in what's the best way of ensuring yourself. So if we win, we'll go into the next round and there'll be money. If we draw, we'll have a replay and there'll be more income at the club. The way not to gain was obviously to go out. So whether, I don't know if he was involved in the bet or not, but it's just an insurance claim against the fact if you go out, you'll cover yourself with a bit of money. It doesn't look great. We knew nothing about it. The fact that we lose 5-1 makes it look terrible. They were a terrific team with Mirandina and Gascoigne and John Cornwall actually as well. He played in the game as well. But the slightly different thing was on the Friday night, instead of we actually sort of went out and to a restaurant to have a bit of food and then back to the hotel, which was different to what we'd done before. But that wasn't. Then that was out at 7 and back at 9. That wasn't out at 9 and back in at 3 in the morning or anything like that.
Yeah, I remember that was the day really when Gascoigne announced himself, didn't he? I mean, he was terrific, wasn't he, that day?
Yeah. And again, it was just an indication of what you needed to be in the next league.
So Glenn Hoddle comes in and, my goodness me, the football kind of went from Ozzy's Samba football to Glenn Hoddle and, Glenn Hoddle. This is 3 high-profile managers in a row. And Glenn Hoddle eventually, after one attempt at the playoffs, didn't quite get there. But eventually they do, you do, and a chance to redeem 1990 and 1993 in that incredible game against Leicester, which is just bonkers, wouldn't it? I mean, you're 3-0 up and cruising, and what on earth happened?
Yeah, I mean, it's what happened. It's not even that you're relaxed, but I think when they score the first goal, there's a tendency that it'll be all right, but they scored the second one so quick, and then there's definitely a fear comes into you, whether people would admit that or not, but there's definitely a fear because you're throwing it all away, and you've won it. You had it won 3-0. No one ever loses when you're 3-0 up. All those thoughts are in your head probably a little bit as a player, and how do we get at the end of the game and hang on? And listen, the mindset now is all about, for me, is all about how do you score the next goal. But that's where, when people talk about how fragile or how poor players have played, it's mental anguish for fans. I accept that, but it's absolutely mental devastation for you on the pitch when it's pure fear that you're giving something away that you've worked so hard for, had taken away from you, and you go into a self-protection mode. I don't know, but they had nothing to lose and they came at us and they scored 3 goals. Why are they not allowed to score 3 goals and we'd scored 3 to go 3 up? What's the logic behind that? It's competition. It's allowed to happen. Can you respond? Sometimes we in other days we might not have, but we did that day.
Well, Chalky did what Chalky does, and
all over.
I always remember him outside the team bus. Anyway, we'll leave that one to one side.
Yeah.
Zippy, of course, who we had on our panel last night, steps up and gets the penalty. You're in the Premier League, except then Colin Calderwood, you decide to go to Tottenham. And to this day, I've said to people, I don't blame him. You get £1 million move to Tottenham, you're not going to turn that down. How did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, again, my contract was had run out towards the end of that season, and I'd turned down an offer from Swindon, and just to get to the end of the season, there had been 2 or 3 agents trying to speak to me about possibility of moving to other clubs, but there was nothing concrete. And really, it was just to have that opportunity come the end of the season. If we hadn't gone up, would Swindon have wanted me to move to generate some money? I don't know. There's that side of it, but I just sat and exercised a player's right, or my right at that time, and I think I'm entitled to do that. And then, as luck would have it, Ozzy ended up getting the Tottenham job. And Glenn, obviously, he left to go to Chelsea. So Ozzy rang up and said that there was a possibility of Razor Ruddock was going to go to Liverpool, and I would like to bring you in. So I had to wait until Ruddock left to go to Liverpool, and that took a lot more days than I really wanted it. And I talked to John Gorman at the time about trying to negotiate a contract, and went in. But really torn about what was right and what was wrong. If I stay, I would get a testimonial. If I stay, I'd see through that journey from Division 4 into Premiership. Loyalty and my heart were telling me to stay. Advice from everybody else was to leave if you had the opportunity of a Tottenham. But because Tottenham didn't move, or the move didn't happen straight away, there was a number of times I went into the county ground and I felt in my head I'm going to say, let's just get this signed and let's get on with it. But it didn't happen. Something would happen. A phone call to say it's going to happen tomorrow. It never happened tomorrow. It was unnerving time, and probably not one of my least favourite times at Swindon was those days of self-doubt about whether it was right to leave or whether it was ever going to happen.
Well, a couple of questions on that subject. How did Colin feel coming back to Swindon for the first time as a Tottenham player, especially as Swindon won?
Yeah.
And Claire says, totally devastated you went to Spurs, but it got you international football that you fully deserved. And our time is running out, but I was going to ask you about international football. First of all, let's address the feeling of coming back to Swindon with Tottenham and losing. How did that feel?
Yeah, it felt just and right, didn't it? That'll teach you. But also, Swindon, the game at White Hart Lane was a draw as well, which wasn't. I'm sure it was a draw. That right, Nick? So yeah, it wasn't the most enjoyable. You want to go back and you want to waltz around the pitch and applaud everyone, but you're opposition, so you're going to take a bit of stick. And it was a reminder of what the crowd and the atmosphere and the pitch and the stadium did to the opposition, because you got right under the skins of us that day, and it became what I had experienced being in the red shirt.
36 caps for Scotland, 1 goal, if I remember rightly, against San Marino, but 36 caps for Scotland, including that game in France against Brazil. I mean, hey, when you're a kid in Stranraer kicking the ball about, to play in the first game of the World Cup against Brazil, that has to be pretty much up there, doesn't it?
It is, and it's an iconic game. We were speaking before the show, but the real pride is the journey from League 4 to the Premier League with Swindon. That is the foundation of my career, and you only get to that Scotland-Brazil game because of the 9 seasons of doing what you did at Swindon, and then sort of 4 or 5 at Tottenham. And being at Tottenham definitely elevates you into people's mind a little bit. But again, fortunate, there was a couple of injuries to high-profile players, Craig Levine and Alan McLaren. That's probably what got me into the Scotland squad to begin with. And then, that was. It's still got the Brazil shirt. I've still got Teddy Sheringham's shirt from Euro '96. They are super moments. But I also look back, and if there's one game I watch Newcastle away with Aussie's team at St James's Park. which was on ITV. And then, funnily enough, I watched Peterborough against Swindon on a real dog end of a pitch. And the football we played that day with Glenn's team is, it's a great reminder about how good footballers there was in there with Mickey Hazard and Glenn and Martin Ling.
Beat Bristol City 4-0 in 91. One of our finest ever performances. Mickey Hazard, Nestor Lorenzo. I mean, Nestor Lorenzo, for goodness sake, he played a World Cup final when he joined Swindon.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, it's the daftest question I've ever asked anybody was when I asked him how much of an influence was Ozzy Ardiles on you joining Swindon. And you think, well, obviously. But, that's the sort of caliber of player that was coming to Swindon. It's incredible. Mickey Hazard, people like that, extraordinary.
Yeah, I think those connections, Glenn being able to have that connection with Mickey and also Ozzy with Nestor. But Lou and his connection with Manchester United, bringing Alan McLaughlin and Fraser Digby, is equally as important to Swindon's story as those other two at the other end of it.
Yeah, famously, of course, the late great Alan McLaughlin missed all the post 1990 stuff because he went off to the World Cup of the Republic of Ireland. So incredible, really, and sadly missed, of course. Our time is up, Colin, but I must mention where you are at the minute. We didn't even touch your managerial career, which maybe another time you'll come on and talk about, because that'll be fascinating. You're at Southampton. You got Preston tomorrow night. You're pushing in 4th place, I think, at the minute. Preston just outside the playoffs. Big game for you.
It is. When we've 11 games to go, but it's still a quarter of the season. But the importance of the games is probably more important than the early part of the season. Now we're in a position. Majority of seasons we'd be in a even healthier position than we are now. You've got to trust if you maintain the level of points per game, that would normally get you up or very close to going up. If we do that, I think we'll have held our head up, but we might have to do a little bit better, and that means winning tomorrow night as a good starting point.
Well, we'll be looking out for the result, and many people have asked you and Swindon, is it finished yet?
Yeah, but I've sort of been asked sort of once or twice, but once a little bit more formal than before. But I was still, both times I've still been within a job, and I was probably managing at the time rather than being an assistant. It's you would never say never. There's obviously enjoy the story that we've told tonight about the playing times. I wouldn't want to go back and make a mess of a memory for someone. But as we all get older, I still got ambition. I still like winning. I still like managing. And I still like working. So you never know.
Yeah, if I remember right, you were at Forest, weren't you? And you were very close to getting the Swindon job, and they said no, and then you left Forest about 3 days later, if I remember right.
Yeah. But sometimes it's all about timing.
Yeah, sure. But you might remember when you were at Cambridge, and I always remember this, it was a 0-0 draw, if I remember rightly, but the whole of the away end sang your name at the end.
Yes, very nice.
Yeah. So
I mean, just a quick one, Vic, to finish. So my last game, well, it was my last game in my playing career. I was in Notts County on loan. I gone there after another injury, just to see if I had anything left in the legs a little bit. But I wasn't very good for Notts County. And I tell the story, which might be fabricated a little bit, but bear with me. So I knew I was going to retire come the end of the season. The manager told me on the way down, listen, I'm going to leave you out today. I said, fine, I'll come and see you Monday. I think I'm going to hang the boots up. And I knew it was time to retire, but when I got up as a Notts County player at the county ground to warm up, the home fans cheered and the Notts County fans booed. And I thought, well, there's an indication. Get out.
I remember that, actually. Yes, now you say it. Yes. Well, you'll always be cheered at the county ground. You know that. And that 85-86 evening that we had recently was a great memory. So we thank you and the other players. And when you and John Trollope brought that trophy in, I think the roof was going to lift off. That was a fabulous moment. So thank you.
I always feel sorry for the Swindon team of today, because they'll always get reminded of we always had the 69 team. Not that it really irritated us, but at some stage It's all about the team on the pitch at the moment, and the memories are great, but I hate going back and seeing our name on this day 25 years ago or 35 years ago. We beat, and it was 6 away victories in a row or something like that. I feel sorry for the boys because it's a high mantle, you know. It's very hard to achieve again nowadays.
Definitely. Simply, this is from Hayden Bedwell, who says, "Bring him home." There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
What a joy, Colin. And if we could have you back and talk about your managerial career as well, because it's fascinating, the amount of clubs that you've been involved with. That would be really good if we could do that at some point in the future.
I would like to, yeah, no problem.
Brilliant. There you are, Chris.
We'll sort that. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much, Colin. It's been great. Thank you. And thank you for giving it me time, and good luck for tomorrow night.
Thank you, and best wishes to everyone there and all the Swindon fans.
Cheers, Colin.
Bye-bye.
So we will be back next Monday. We've got Keith Scott on next Monday. And so we'll see everybody who's going to Bristol City on Thursday for the youth match, or if you're going to Mansfield on Saturday. But if not, we'll see you next Monday. Bye.